right, welcome to Couch Live, everybody. I'm the street certified dope Dr. Louis Delgado here with you, and of course my partner, Dr. JoJo Brown.
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Look at you with those little curls.
Did you call them girls?
Yeah, I guess they're not curls. What are they? I don't know what to call those.
Girls. They're called Bantu knots.
They're called what?
Bantu knots.
Bantu knots.
Yes.
Well, I guess I've never tried that hairstyle, JoJo, so I don't know.
Well, we can get you on.
Yeah, I should try. Next time I grow my hair out, I should do that.
You don't have to grow it out. We'll just get you a full lace front.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
I don't mind. Look, I'm willing to try new things. Don't think I won't, JoJo.
Say that.
Yeah,
Maybe we do a show and I get you some Bantu knots.
yeah.
Even
I'm
though
into that.
I just want to make that clear. Hang on.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's you're always so stylish.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Try something
All right.
different.
That's right. All right. So for those of you that don't know, we're here on let me see on the Florida radio here in Central Florida. Radio on AM 1680. That's WOKB 1680 AM, and of course 100.7 FM. And then some of you probably watch us or see it or hear it on however you hear your podcast, see your podcast, YouTube, Facebook, I don't know, Twitch, I think. I don't know. Many different other ways that people may listen and see it. Hopefully you can join us today. It's a pretty heavy show today, JoJo. At least it's about an important subject. I mean, everybody's obviously talking about a lot of stuff that's happening in the news lately, and this is no different. So we thought, being responsible people that we are, we have to cover it, right? About taking responsibility as a friend in need kind of thing. You know what I mean? So today's show is a tough one, but it's an important one. We're talking about responsibility, and not the kind that we point fingers at someone after a tragedy, but the kind that where we step up, like hopefully before it happens. At
Right.
least that's the goal. Because here's the truth: behind so many acts of violence, there's usually a story of pain, isolation, untreated mental illness, something like that. And all too often, instead of asking, or we just don't ask enough, how could I have done something? How could I have helped? Right? We blame the person, we blame the victim, or like we see a lot, we see people blaming the system.
Right.
But today we want to flip that script, right? We want to talk about other ways that maybe we can be a little bit more involved as people. And since we're on here on WOKB 1680 AM here in the Central Florida area, and Orange County government is so helpful to us in all that we do. They're very supportive and been a sponsor for our show for all 25 years of existence, now in our 26th year. I thought it's important. Let's flip that script then and see why, JoJo, why does this conversation even matter?
Multiple reasons it matters. One, I love to kind of piggyback on is social media is so huge today.
Mm-hmm.
So, everything gets aired out and people just can be so cruel or so opinionated. And because of the way society is, a lot of times that has so much power over just reality. And the other is to save lives, also, and to just be honest and open about the conversation in regards to what we are going through as an individual, a society,
Right.
a world, a family, a friend. So that's pretty much where I'm at on it. I know you're in the same space as
Well, yeah, because I feel like sometimes the conversation gets hidden in people's, I don't know, wherever their mind's at the time. And since right now we're so divided in so many views, everything gets politicized, right? So I think that we forget that pain is all around us at all times.
and I think it's okay for us to be divided, right? That's just honesty. Like people are divided. But there are some things that we should unite on.
Amen.
And this is one of them.
Right. And I do think that's why conversation matters, because I think what silence does, it allows it to continue and get worse, right? And here's the sad thing. Here's the other sad truth, Dr. Brown, is that if we stay silent as a normal public, like if all of us stay silent, then the only voices we'll hear are the extremes, because they never stay silent, right? Extreme voices never stay silent. The people that celebrate anger, rage, hate, and violence, they're not going to stay silent.
No.
And the instigators, people that like poke the bear, they never stay silent. People that stir the pot, they never stay silent.
it's typically the other side that is
Right.
silent, that doesn't have the voice, that allows whatever they are speaking to be spoken versus speaking up, and probably for so many different reasons. Especially like I say, society.
Right.
I'll give you an example. Everyone, the best ratings are full of drama. You know,
Mhm.
fighting or you got
Yeah.
other drama going on. I mean, you are number one show, movie, right? But then let's take it, our podcast, your podcast, someone
Right.
else's podcast,
Right.
talking about real life, mental health.
Right.
How can you become a better person? How can you heal? And we get 2 views.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, you're so right. Like the housewives. I think right when you said that, I thought about like the housewives, you know, they that we love the drama. We love the fighting and stuff like that. And just like Marissa Molesky, hey, Marissa up there, you're no longer in New York, I don't think. I think Marissa's now moved to Florida. She says we need rational voices. Yes, we do
Absolutely.
need rational voices, you know. Again, because
Voices.
who doesn't experience pain? I love how we try to act like only one side is allowed to experience pain and frustration and hurt, right?
Right.
That doesn't belong to any individual. We're all humans. We all go through pain,
Right.
right? And guess what? Whatever you're watching on TV or radio and you say I would never, yeah, you might. You just might. Don't ever say you would never. That is a very scary thing
Very
to
scary.
say. Right.
Yeah.
And maybe you won't, and maybe you won't. But maybe, just maybe, somebody real close to you in your circle or around you or your neighbor, they might.
Right.
And that's why we wanted to talk about it today, because there's a lot of stories we've seen recently, and somebody had to see it coming. Somebody had to see something coming, right?
Think about snitches. You
Yeah.
know, that whole thing. I'll never be a snitch.
Right.
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 And then they snitch. And what is snitching anyways when it comes to that? But that's a whole other topic. But it's just an example of what people will say they're going to do. You know, they stand on business, and the next thing you know, they're in someone's paperwork. So
right. So let's talk about some recent examples. And again, not to get into the politics of these examples. We're going to talk about these examples in a way to kind of just express our point of the day of why we're having this conversation. So first of all, let's take the case of the transgender individual who carried out a school shooting. All right. Let's strip away the politics for a moment. All right. What we see is someone who likely wrestled, I'm pretty sure wrestled with identity struggles, right? Rejection and deep isolation, right? And the question is, could a supportive friendship or a circle of belonging have altered that trajectory? Like, is there any way that someone that may have been close to that individual could have seen that this person was struggling and in a lot of pain, and in that, instead of just purely internalizing this pain, or maybe even self-hate, I don't know, that hate started going outward, or that pain started being like, well, then if I'm going to hurt like this, then someone else has got to feel this kind of pain. Do you think that someone, JoJo, might have been there and felt, and today is feeling like, oh my God?
I think it's more likely than not.
Yeah.
You know, just as a human race, like people are around us, you know, every day, whether it's a family, whether it's a friend, whether it's a teacher or a church, or there's so many opportunities for us to be surrounded by someone that I do believe huge, probably like 99.5% chance that this individual had been around somebody, and that person most likely saw some pain or some challenges or some isolation, just different. Let's say that, you know, not the typical norm, just different, just something as easy as different.
Right.
They saw in an individual, which was a moment where they could have learned more.
Right. And let's look at that for a second. I mean, I think, you know, because no one type of individual owns these feelings. I mean, I think it's pretty normal that at one time or another, each one of us as humans has felt a rejection struggle, right? Or some isolation or feeling different. I mean, we don't always feel like we belong in every situation. So I think sometimes we hear these kinds of words and we're like, well, this is how I dealt with it. So this is how that person should deal with it. Or I felt like that, but I didn't go and shoot a bunch of kids. We're not giving excuses, and we're just talking. We're just talking, because this stuff just needs to be talked about. because I may experience a feeling one way and internalize it one way, but maybe it doesn't come out so violently. But on a different occasion where you are very peaceful, that same peaceful situation within my head might turn into violence. And that's why we have to talk about it, because we don't know. We are animals at the end of the day, right? We're not always rational. Let's take another one, for instance. Or, the homeless man on the subway, right? Who killed a woman. She just got to this country. Remember the Ukrainian woman? We look at him and we see violence, right? But beneath that was an untreated trauma. There has to be some sort of mental illness, trauma. Something's going on with that individual. A lifetime of disconnection is what it looked like, right? A lifetime of disconnection. Even the mom made some phone calls to say, my son, he's off the deep end, needs to be helped. Please help him. Please help him. Please help him. Reached out to the system over and over,
right?
And the world just walked right past him every day. I mean, anybody who's ever lived in a large city, and Marissa, this is probably why you live in Florida now instead of still in New York like you used to, is because we see less of them where we're at here. But in every large city, we walk by some of these people every day, and what happens when we stop ignoring the invisible people around us? And I don't know what that really means, Jojo. I don't think that means just giving them $1 or listening to them play the buckets, or their music or what. I don't know what it means. I guess I'm asking, Dr. Brown, what does it, where do we go with that when we walk by people like this every day and we know this person's struggling? I mean, I can't tell you how many countless hotels, because I travel for a living, right? So I'm in hotels and downtowns, and I walk downtowns all the time. And I'll see a guy across the street talking to himself, mad, just cursing at the air, and I know darn well, okay, I'm gonna stay on this side of the street. I hope, but I keep my eye on him, right? I keep my eye on him, make sure. But what else am I supposed to do, Dr. Brown? Like, how am I supposed to be a better member of society in that situation?
I think one, it's normal to be like, what do I do? Right. I've been in that situation. I see people all the time. I live downtown. And so what I believe is it depends on the specific person. Right. There are opportunities. I just give this one. I've been I know everyone. Have you ever gone through a drive-through and I didn't do anything to you? And they get on the intercom and they mad. And it's like, I didn't party yet.
Oh.
Right. And our initial response a lot of time is like, what? Excuse me? Like, you tried, and
me?
Right. I don't know who you're talking to, so, but I've grown to know in my wisdom experience that something as little as that, what happened that morning, and I'm sorry about that.
That's
what
all right.
happened that morning or that night prior to them getting on that intercom?
Oh, yeah.
Sound that way. And so that's just a small gesture of just saying good morning, or would they come to the window saying, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm rooting for you. I've done that so much. I've done that before, and someone burst out in tears at the window. Wow. Because we're human, and so that's just a small gesture, a small opportunity. Others, we know the major one, make calls, find out. And I'm gonna give you another one that I personally do. I'll pray with somebody. I'm not thinking to. I will pray with you, or I will pray over you. You might not even know I am praying, but things like that is, that's the little stuff for the people that you're nervous about. Like you said, the one that you want to stay on the other side of the street with. And
I do. I don't want to walk. I don't trust them.
Me too.
Jojo, I look, at least I'm admitting it though. I'm taking responsibility. I am that not in my neighborhood kind of stuff. I don't like that. Right. If there was a dude walking in my neighborhood like that every day, I'd have a problem with it. As a matter of fact, we do have a dude like that. There is a guy that since the day we moved in here, and I'm not, yes, I live in a golf course community. Yes, I could ride my little golf cart all over the place. Yes, I live behind an electronic situation in a guard shack. I get it. I'm in a safe little scenario. I worked for this. I wanted my wife and my children to be in a very safe area of the world, right? I worked for this.
I'm never safe.
Right? No, and never safe enough. Because within this, there's this little dude. He's not so little anymore. Now he's like definitely in his young 20s, right? But when I first moved, he was a little dude. And he would always drive around kind of awkwardly in his little golf cart. And he was one of those young kids that are just stares and just like real creepy-ish kind of thing. So they're everywhere that I'm like, I just keep my eye on. I just tell my kids, all right, watch out for that one. I tell my wife, you know what? But my wife noticed him before I did. Even she's like, "Watch out!" Yes, watch out for that one. And I don't want to be like that, JoJo. But what am I supposed? Am I supposed to? Am I supposed to just not feel that it's a possibility that tragedy can happen in my life? Yes, it can.
Absolutely. I think sometimes we are one step away from being that individual that is
Yeah.
depressed, that is broken, that is struggling with mental illness that
Right.
we don't resolve.
Right.
I think it's unfortunate when I do see individuals like that because without a degree, we're human. We know that there is something wrong. And just like you say, what do I do, Dr. Brown? That's the sad part because there
Right.
should be things to do. It's like you want to call law enforcement, but law enforcement has rolled by them 100 times. It's the person from the neighborhood who's
They know them.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Oh, he's just crazy. He talks to
Yeah.
himself. You know, but is that really? That's not
That's right.
okay.
No.
But then if you call the officers, you don't want them to be incarcerated, which happens a lot.
Yeah.
So what is, like you say, I don't know
Yeah.
all the answers, but I will say what you can do,
Mhm.
you do, because there's nothing like someone walking by that you had an opportunity where you possibly could make a difference and you didn't. Kind of like, someone you love and you get in an argument
Right.
and they pass away. And now you have all these regrets
Right.
of I should have done this.
Yeah.
Don't be that person.
Right. Well, you know what? You reminded me of a couple things. So let me first talk about one of the things that you reminded me of. You reminded me of when I was in a bad way, right? When I was first changing my life around, I was living in LA. I can't tell you how many people annoyed the crap out of me, telling me exactly what you just said. You're so nice about it too. You say you pray over them or something. I can't tell you how many people says, they said something like that, something spiritual, something faithful, something that to me felt like they wanted to save me, right? And I was so not ready to hear any kind of messages at that point in my life because I was busy trying to save myself, right? But I wasn't really doing it with any intentionality other than I wanted everybody to shut up, right? I was just trying to figure it out. What was that?
Like, you have to be careful with that too. So I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
Because you don't want to, and we talked about this before. I'm gonna come up and pray with you, grab your hands.
Right. I was offended.
Into anything. So, it's kind of, you tread lightly there and you also ask, like I'm not gonna walk up to you and put hands on you, Father God.
Yeah. It felt like that.
That is so wrong. That is so wrong.
George, I can't tell you how many times I was offended from just people just saying, or even just me leaving and they'd be like, God bless you. And I'd be like, bless who? You know what I mean? Like people would say, have a great day. I said, don't tell me what to do. I took everything wrong.
Some people stop praying. Like, I've been praying all my life. I don't want him to pray. God don't hear me. Exactly. I've heard it all. You are
so sometimes we just got to understand that, don't expect someone to go, oh, thank you in every situation, right?
Right, so, don't listen to this. And then you walk down the street and grab somebody's hand and pray.
Yeah. Probably not. Yeah, definitely not the guy on the other side of the street. Don't go grab his hand and try to pray for him. Though. All right, so let's talk about another heartbreaking story because this was horrible, man. The teenager guy who turned to artificial intelligence, turned to AI for guidance, right? And he ended up taking his own life, right? Imagine the loneliness it takes to trust a chat bot more than a human being. Just imagine where your world is. And it's easy for us as older adults to be like, oh, it's the youth today, it's young people today, that generation. But just instead of all that, just get out of all that and just imagine being in that scenario. Just imagine where the best advice or the best communication or the best friendship you're feeling is artificial. And then it makes you think, well, where are the real friends? Like, where are the parents, the mentors who could have said, hey, I'm here for you. I'm here too, and they probably did. Joe, I'm not saying they didn't. I don't know that they did. I'm just saying it makes us think that, right? Because again, we all want to blame something. It's got to be somebody's fault. It's got to be AI's fault. It's got to be the parents' fault. It's got to be friends. I'm just having a conversation today. JoJo and I are just having a conversation today so that we can all just be more open that it's everywhere all around us.
And conversation needs to happen.
Yeah.
Conversation definitely needs to happen. Yeah. It's kind of like what we said, not to backtrack about those two other incidents.
That's fine.
About, it's deeper than just a news, breaking news. It's a lot of brokenness on both sides. All of the examples is just sadness. But to talk about, and I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I've been wanting to talk about this specifically.
All right.
I think you're absolutely correct. When you think immediately, right? Just immediately thinking, the majority of person is like, oh, what did the parent do? Why no one knew? What I will start with is, it's sad, and this is normal, for our children to be going to artificial intelligence, or we hear about the video games now, and kids following Grand Theft Auto or whoever, and they go and shoot, like it's a video game. Right. So, but back to that, initially, and I've spoken to people about this as well, a lot of times I've heard them blaming the actual parent, right? And yes, my question is, did the parent notice anything? Did they do anything? However, we don't know the other side. Maybe that family, the parents suffer from mental illness as well. We don't know the dynamics behind the closed door, but what I can say is, if that parent or those parents did see and not realize or not look at tools, there's a couple things that we can say. One is awareness, like we're talking about right now. Some people take different measures. They see, okay, my son is depressed, use praying for them. I'm gonna pray over them. They don't seek out different resources, or they don't see the severity of it. It's like, oh, he's just sad about his dog. The girlfriend broke up with him, and people don't pay attention, like you said, to certain things that they should.
Yeah, those are all great points. You're so right. And I don't, and in all these people, we don't know all the right answers. We're just talking about some instances. These are all so far, the three tragedies we just talked about are three tragedies that have been on the minds of people all around you every day. You've probably had some conversations about it all different ways, and we're just having it this way, because conversation in a healthy way needs to happen. And trust me, JoJo and I, Dr. Brown and I, we differ on a lot of things, and that's all right. You know what we don't differ on? Communication, active communication, openly being able to talk about it respectfully. And so let's get into probably the most difficult one, but yet we're not going to get into the depths of it. You probably already know which one it is, JoJo. Okay. But the tragedy surrounding Charlie, I'm just going to, right? His killer. That was a story, or that is a story of anger, right? Radicalization, and likely untreated mental instability. You could have probably saw it coming. We even hear comments where people saw some stuff coming. And how many times do we think that someone noticed his rage building, but they stayed silent, either hoping it wasn't their business, or they agreed with the source of his frustration, anger, or whatever, and therefore didn't take it further in their mind, like he would do something? Because there's a lot of people that have said some real horrible things afterwards. And it's like, are we not understanding that by celebrating it, or by not emphasizing the pain or how horrible something like that is, we're just, again, allowing the next one to occur even easier? The harder conversation is saying, it's just sad. I don't know the guy, didn't know the guy, didn't watch the guy, didn't listen to the guy. I've seen a lot of clips of the guy since. Obviously, this side wants to show me these clips, that side wants to show me these clips. At the end of the day, the clip that sticks in my head the most, to be honest with you, is his neck being shot. That's the one I have in my memory the most. The clip of him being at a college campus, getting shot and dying. And so I'm thinking, okay, I see, here's another instance of pain. Here's another instance where now pain creates more pain in somebody. So I look at something like that, be like, well, I think there's a lot of therapists like us, counselors like us, JoJo, people in our scenario where somebody comes into our office and they're maybe sharing some personal thoughts and frustration and anger, maybe about the other side, right? And what are we doing with that these days? Because look, you and I have something that we have to do, right? If somebody says that they're going to hurt themselves or others, we have to act upon it, right? But it had me thinking, Dr. Brown, how many times are we probably in scenarios these days where the newer generations of therapy these days may not always act upon it the same way because we don't want to upset that balance. We're doing good work here. We're getting somewhere. I don't want to overreact or over-respond, because when the parents responded and they overreacted to some things that he or she did early on in life, they Baker-acted the kid. They put the person in a treatment center against their will, involuntary placement for mental health for a few days. And ever since then, this then child, now adult, forever hates the parents or is angry or never forgiven. They felt abandoned by the parents. We hear these stories, right? You've heard these stories. I hear these stories.
Right.
So now we're already set up to be like, all right, well, I can't overreact. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I also can't overreact. I have to help process these feelings of hate and anger and frustration, and help them through it. So go ahead.
As a clinician, I think there's multiple things that we should remember as being professionals, right?
Right.
And one is, we know, like, listen, if you're about to harm us, say it in almost every session. If you're gonna you put in your note, in high risk areas of risk. So if you are going to, if you have the plan or the desire to hurt someone else or hurt yourself, I have a responsibility to make that call to protect you.
Yes.
Bottom line, all the time, every clinician that's listening to me, that's what we do, right? There also is a point where we have to be unbiased. And so sometimes, depending on the severity, or because we're still human, like, you hear something and it's natural for us to have a certain instinct, right? Find out what that instinct is, right? Sometimes you have to make it more personal. Okay, if this was my family, right? How would I take their message?
Yes.
And another one is, hey, I love to say, is there someone you trust that we can bring into this conversation?
Right.
Will you allow me to share what you're going through with someone else so that you can have some more support? Those are just a couple of things that we should do to try to save someone else, And so it's a tough one. I work with a lot of counselors who don't get it. Here's another one. Call another clinician, like staff it. Don't let it go and
run the case.
Someone else, right? I'll call you, Louis. How does this sound? The client said this, without, and that's another thing, guys, clinicians, like, we can have a certain level of conversation without breaking HIPAA, right? I'm not going to call Louis and say, hey, John Williams, he's 33 and he, my client, this is what he's going through. What do I do? You know what I mean? There are certain boundaries there, so I don't want y'all to do that. But there are ways, and to make sure you do 100%, right? And I'm going to say that too. If there are some lives that will be lost, hopefully never on your watch, right? But the reality is, you might give or see a client that at the end of the day, for whatever reason, they ended up doing the unthinkable, the impossible, the broken, the most saddest thing that you ever experienced.
Yep.
As long as you know that you gave 100% to that client, you did your job. And
that's the hard part. I think you just said it right there, because all of us in this business, all of us have names and faces in our heads. All of us. And if you don't, if you're listening to this and you're a clinician and you don't, you just probably haven't reached out to every single person you ever helped. You know what I mean? Because you do, and you're very fortunate if you don't. But you probably just haven't seen enough people. It just happens, man. It's horrible. And I remember the first one. I still remember the very first one, and I remember the most recent. And to be honest with you, I think I remember every single one that I know about differently, and it's hard. And it's hard, man, because, you do have to respond. And you know what I'm thinking right now, though? But we're in a climate right now where and I'm in a lot of meetings, man. I chair different boards. I'm in a lot of meetings. And, the way the political climate is right now, I hear therapists say things, opinions on things and harsh on things that they're scary the way they mention them, because that's not the way therapists talk.
No.
Therapists aren't supposed to talk like that. You know what? The teachers that are getting fired for putting out ridiculous posts. Teachers, you're not supposed to talk like that. You're a teacher. You're supposed to be unbiased. You're supposed to be in the middle. You're allowed to have your own personal views. You're allowed to have whatever feelings you're having. I'm not saying that. But when your role is what it is,
you made a point.
Yeah, that's like me doing relationship counseling, and if I'm fighting with Dana that day, and you come in and talk about your woman, I say, oh yeah, women, they just go on a rant about women. I can't accept your hatred for your woman because I may be angry with mine that day. You know what I mean? Like, you have to restrain certain thought process and just go right to the source of the pain. Just go to the pain part.
And you know, right? People get it misconstrued, or I'm talking to you clinicians too. Yeah. We're calling you out.
Call them out, man.
If you are telling people what to do as a clinician, that's not your job. That is not what they taught us to do, right? Clinicians, counselors, we're a guide, right? We help guide you through your own life for then you to decide.
Amen.
Left, right, up, down. Was I wrong? How can I do this better? Right. But we guide you. If you're looking for someone to tell you what to do, get you a life coach.
Yeah, we're not giving you advice. We shouldn't be. Yeah, I'm glad you're calling them out, because I love calling them out myself. And when I hear a person the way they talk about their therapist, sometimes, like, I call my therapist about everything, and it's so dependent upon the therapist. I said, does that therapist know how dependent this patient has now become? Maybe that therapist gets off on that. Maybe they actually like the fact that you're calling them on everything and they get a control. No, if you're still in that situation, maybe therapy's not working for you with that clinician. And I hate to do it. I want to talk about positive. I don't like to talk about negative. But this field, like every other field, there's always bad of every type, right? Not every truck driver is a good driver, right?
Exactly. Transferring clients, because at the end of the day, it's what's best for your client.
Right.
And sometimes we have to transfer clients. I can only imagine not everyone could work with the individuals who caused harm to these victims, if they had an opportunity. I remember in school I was asked, can you work with a perpetrator or can you work with the victim? If you don't have the knowledge of working with the LGBTQ community, well, find a counselor that does.
Yeah, if you're not good with that, then you're the wrong therapist.
Exactly. So I got so much to say. It just
I know. Well, look. Luckily, we're on other days. Like
a freeze. But my heart goes out to, and I know it's difficult for a lot of people to feel sorry for the individuals on some of the sides, on the individual that actually did the crime, right? So you have individuals like they don't see that people are in pain. They don't see, possibly, because let's talk about this. Some people are born biologically with a mental illness outside of their control, their chemical imbalance. And then let's go ahead and get to the real word, trauma, which we all experience. Trauma can take us in a way of isolation, pain. You're a victim of abuse because you were abused, certain things like that. And then trauma can also go the other way around, where it goes to violence and it goes to aggression and it goes to and the other side goes to suicide. We all have a responsibility in every way that we can to help somebody.
So let's go with that. How can we be a better friend, Dr. Brown? The role of a friend, even if you're a family member, hopefully you're a friend and a family member. So as a friend, what is our role there?
As a friend, call me. And I'm gonna say
that's what Marissa said on Facebook Live. She says, I'm gonna give him your number before I give him $1.
I love that. But yes, call your friends, check on your friends. When a friendship is so special, because we learn certain things about each other. A true friendship, not, you my friend, you're in elementary school and that thing. But as a true friend, your friend, if they're having a good day or a bad day, and just check on them. If they're going through something, follow up. Send a text message. There's nothing wrong with sending a text message. Go over and take the time out to see that friend. Or if another friend, have them check on it. But the we must check on each other, right? Just reality. Life be lifing. Life is challenging. Life gets real. Let's talk about society right now. People can't afford to live in their homes. Relationships are it's almost like frequently, frequent flyer because of the way life has changed. So you have breakups, you have heartbreak, you have everyday struggles. And so the same way that you would like for someone to check up on you is the same thing that you do for people who you love.
I like that. I like that. And also, if you hear your friend sounding a little bit more radical, even if you agree with the main points, even if you're on the same side, but if it's getting to the point where you could feel that it's taking them over, that they're unable to handle that conversation the way you are, they're unable to handle how they feel about it like you are, they're becoming more enraged. I mean, this is a friend that you love, man. I mean, like I said, even if you agree with them, you must be the friend that can help them understand that it's a little bit too much for them to handle. You're seeing it. You're watching it.
Right. Be able to tell them that they're wrong. I'm the friend that I'm going to say, hey, I'm on my way. Oh, no, come on. Oh, make sure you okay. Oh, you know what? I'm going to call your mama.
You're going to threaten me now?
Like if it comes to that, I ain't calling.
I love it.
Telling your man cheat on you. But if you are in a space where I'm concerned or you have shared things, I'm calling your mama. And listen, I will do, what is it called? One of them checks.
The welfare checks.
I will do a wellness check. Yes, I will. I will call, but that's what we have to do. Like, would you rather call somebody for your friend or plan their funeral? Because,
keep going.
Because that's reality.
Yeah.
Suicide is, I looked it up, the 11th high rate of people's death. Suicide, number 11.
Yeah, and in some groups of individuals, it's higher.
Most definitely.
Veterans, for instance. Let me bring something up with that then, because again, we may agree with maybe what created some of their feelings. And when you said the cheating, it made me think of something. Sometimes we have friends that are doing behaviors that maybe we wouldn't do, but they're feeling okay to tell us, and now it becomes our secret. And because they're our friend, we may or may not challenge them as heavy, but that could also lead to a very harmful road to that individual,
That's true. If you have a friend, tell that friend to keep it real with you. Because if you can't keep it real with me when you see something wrong,
yes,
then we're not friends, because that's not true friendship. Friendship is, I love you when you're wrong, I love you when you're right, but I'm also going to check you also, and I'm going to make sure you're good by any means necessary that's in my power. That's what kind of friend that you want to have. And if you need to, when you finish watching us, you need to call your friend up and make sure that is what you all have going between you two. So that right there makes me think and wonder, how many friends did the individuals that caused harm have?
Right.
Well,
you know what? And let's talk about friends, because I think it's, I tell me if you're the same way. I accept much worse historical bad behavior by friends that I've had for since childhood or family members than I do from recent friends. For instance, if you're a recent friend of mine, and since I said cheating, let's go with that, because I've had this happen where a guy would say something to me thinking I'm gonna like say, oh, that's cool, and I'm thinking, you just ruined it for me, because now we can't be friends, because I'm not hanging out with a dude like this. This is not my kind of dude. But it's only because I just met them within the last several years, right? Whereas if it was somebody that I met like in high school, for instance, I'm so used to that person's piss poor behavior, I don't expect anything different. I've already put that person in a category where they're allowed to be as horrible as they want. They can chop someone up in a bunch of little pieces. I'll probably still give them commissary money, one day. Whereas a new person, that doesn't even get to the point of friendship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And that's a scary one too, because the reality of it is we should be able to have a conversation as people,
Mm.
as adults, right? But because of how crazy the world is,
Mhm.
like I have to be sometimes afraid to share something with you because of the way you might respond,
Right.
versus, hey, this individual does not even know me and they actually gave me a jewel, or they also gave me a word, that I can take
Yeah.
with me to consider, to think about, or tell you to go, well, I can't say the word, go on with your business, but we should be able to be transparent with each other. But sadly, society has taught us other,
Yeah.
so that's why I believe, how everyone is like, well, at the top, everyone has to do something at the top, right? And that's been the conversation for a long time.
Right.
We as people have to do something too.
Hmm.
And it's not about whether you have a license or you went to school to be a doctor or whatnot. It's the everyday person.
Yeah.
Sometimes the everyday person meets the individuals quicker than we do.
Mm.
It's so many individuals who don't have a therapist. They
Right.
don't have a counselor, but they have a friend, or they have someone they see every single day that sees them
Right.
and won't speak up and say something. And so be that person in the midst of whatever community and whatever space you're in. Like what you said about the individual. Listen,
Right.
if you can't be in my space, it's almost like this. If you
Yes.
can't be in my space and I can't tell you the truth about what now you could run it to the bank. You might not agree with me, but let me speak my mind. Then I don't want you in my circle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
They say keep your squares out your circle. I tell all my friends, like, and if you bring your kids over here, and I don't really babysit kids, but if I babysit your kids, look, I pop mine and I'm gonna pop yours. So if I can't pop your baby wrong, then I can't keep your baby. And so to me, the same thing applies with why if someone says something to you, you feel disrespected, and the next thing you're doing is pulling out a gun and taking their life and taking your own because now your life is over. It's not okay. And that's where it starts out with us. You know what I mean? Like, no, we want.
Yeah.
I want a mental health center on every block. I want it to be free. I want there to be so many grants that every single provider has the funding to help everybody who walks. The guy who's all of them. But the reality is we aren't that far.
Right. No, and I also want everyone out there to want the help, and you all don't. None of you really think you need help. None of us think we do. That's the way it is. When we even wait, I was about to say we don't think we need the help until we absolutely need it. But even then, because you and I have dealt with some people that have lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, it's the system's fault. It's someone else's fault. It's not. And so the issue is we do live in a free society. In this free society, you are allowed to be unwell. You are allowed to be sick, mentally, physically, financially. You're allowed to be that way. And so that is not a crime. But then if that's not a crime, I think we also need to tell people that it's not a crime that you don't want to associate with certain of us and you want to, be over there. I do get that hurts the what would you call it, the stigma of the situation, because we want everyone to understand this is everywhere in every family and every friendship. But we also can't push that agenda on everybody. We just have to simply show them enough of us that have recovered from something, right? Either mental illness or addiction or piss poor behavior or criminal behavior. And now we're different today. We just need to show that, look, recovery is possible in all different kinds of ways. So let's do the call to action, because we're running out of time and I know we got to be kicking it up soon. So what are the action steps for the people out there that are listening and they may, we're here talking and they're thinking, you know what? I think I know the next one that's going to do something ridiculous.
I would say first is don't wait, like we said, for the system to do something. It's everybody's responsibility to do something. We are not a pawn. We are people. And so if you see someone or you see something and you're concerned, it's okay to say something or to reach out to an individual to check up on them. I wish the individuals who killed those beautiful children, I wish they got help.
Yeah.
Because most likely they would still be here and parents would have their babies, you know? So I wish they got the help that they need. I wish that someone who saw them suffering had done something about it. The same thing with the little boy who went to AI. I wish he would have got help. I wish he would have talked to somebody. Same thing with these other two examples.
Right.
And so don't miss an opportunity.
Right.
If you see something with someone you love, or you see someone out in the community that you can do something, you know, you might not, like I said, you might not be able to go and pray with that individual.
Right.
But what can you do?
Right.
You know?
And by the way, for all of us that hear the AI and the therapy, that's coming. That's been coming to our space for a long time. Dr. Brown and me, we will be AI in the future. It'll be AI us in the future. That's just the way it's going to go. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Nothing we can do to stop it. It's coming. It's happening. And it's going to be good. It may not be good yet. It may not be great yet, but it's infancy. And this is where it went. And I know it's like weird that it's, it's not a real person. It's not a real thing. And I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it should go in that direction. I'm not saying that I'm happy that it's happening. All I know is that it's happening. And just like with every other advancement in the world, all we can do is learn from these situations to learn how to create it better as good as we can, because it's coming whether we like it or not. All right. So some closing things. Let's talk about some closing things. Let's wrap it up. All right, go ahead.
AI is coming. Absolutely, positively. Louis is correct. Y'all gonna see.
Yeah.
Also, don't rely on AI to help your family and your people.
Right.
You know, because we are becoming into this world of AI where everything is robotic and everything is, of artificial intelligence. But like I was sharing, we're still people. And one thing about AI I will say, it doesn't have emotion. It doesn't have feelings. It goes off of knowledge, right? And knowledge can save a world of people. And I believe that it will. But you also have a responsibility as a human, as a family member, as a friend, to do whatever is in your power to help somebody so that we can stop seeing these mass massacres and these killings and people on both sides suffering and living without the people that they love.
Right.
I'm sorry. I had to,
No, you're right. So give people, what number can they call if they know somebody's suffering, know somebody's struggling, what do you suggest that they do?
911.
Yeah, 911's always good.
And just so you know,
unless it was the 80s. In the 80s, it was a joke. Remember, 911 was a joke, but it's a lot better now.
It still is challenging with police officers not, certified or trained in the mental health. But for those of you who don't know, if someone is suicidal, you can call 911 and someone will come out there. And then if the officer sees, they will Baker Act them themselves.
Or they can call 988 now. We have a suicide hotline, a national suicide hotline, right? 988 if it's suicide, right?
Call 1-800-ABUSE.
Yeah.
That's another one. And then also there's a difference. I want to share this because I've heard this before. Okay. There's a difference between Baker Act and Marchman Act.
In Florida. Yeah, that's a Florida thing, what you're talking about. So it's involuntary placement for mental health is Baker Act, and for substances, it's Marchman Act.
I wanted you to say that.
Amen. Yeah. And then, of course, locally as well, 211. I think that's a national thing everywhere. There's 211 lines everywhere. You can always call 211. And then in our neighborhood or in our central Florida, if you're in the Orlando area, for those people listening on WOKB 1680 AM or 100.7 FM, you can call 407-RECOVER if it's a specific drug or alcohol problem. 407-RECOVER. You can call that. All right. So we got to get on out of here. Any last words at all, JoJo?
You guys, let's make the world a better place. It is possible if we all take a responsibility to make a change, to love the people that we are subjected to and we are around. And I also want to tell y'all this. Also, if you need therapy, 1-800-940-I-CAN.
I like it. I love that Marissa also put 833 Now Matters. That's right. NowMattersMore.org.
Yes, how we gonna forget our own? We help people every day.
Now matters more. That's right. Nowmattersmore.org. All right, everybody. From Dr. JoJo Brown right there.
The
From
dope
me, the street certified dope doctor right here. From all the people here at WOKB 1680 AM. We got to kick it back to Shaw in the studio. Remember, you are not alone, and neither are the people around you. So let's take responsibility together. Adios, amigos. It's time for
friends.
That's right. Time for a taco. Goodbye.